Okay, looks like YouTube is going. I was trying to get it to Facebook. Okay, to those who may be watching, just hold tight as we are live on YouTube. All right. Oh, YouTube may be the only one that's gonna work today, but that's okay. We'll record, and that way we can share the rest. We've got one more option. All right. Well, we're going to get started. We are live on YouTube out there. So, to those who are watching, I'm Dr. Shayla Withers of Essence of Health Wellness Clinic and Coaching, located in Chattanooga, Tennessee. I'm happy to be chatting with you all. I also have Dr. Chanda. You want to introduce yourself?
Yes, hi everyone. I am Dr. Chanda Mayo Ford or Dr. C. I am located in Yorktown, Virginia, which is Hampton Roads, Virginia, and I am so happy to be here.
All right, all right. Now, we are two plant-based physicians. We work with individuals who have conditions of chronic disease, diabetes, high blood pressure, heart-related issues, mental health, all types of things. And what we do is we utilize food as medicine and help people to be able to incorporate more plant-forward foods into their diets. And so we wanted to just hop on live tonight just to chat a bit more about going plant-based, because for a lot of people I know, and I talk about having people go plant-based, they kind of also always kind of have this deer in the headlights, like, what is this thing? I gotta go straight up vegan, like, what's going on? So we just wanted to hop in and chat a little bit about that, and hopefully to just kind of ease some people's minds about going plant-based and what that may look like for them. Um, so I'll start off, just really talking about those benefits. And so what we know about a plant-based diet, in America, I know for a fact, heart disease is still the number one killer. And so, things that lead to heart disease are those things: high blood pressure, diabetes, chronic stress. And these are things that we know can be prevented as well as treated with incorporating more plants into the way that we eat. And so that's why it's so important that we put more plants on our plate. A lot of times, I'll see people in the clinic who just, don't want to take so many medications, or they may feel tired all the time, or they may feel like they're gaining weight and don't know how to manage that. Or even mood changes, and then it comes to a point where we're checking labs, and what we see is that cholesterol is high, or we see that blood pressure is high, that blood sugar is high. And so then it becomes of well, what can we do? And that's really where these plant forward foods come in. How do you typically see that, Dr. Sanda?
Yes, I see it very similarly, that there are a lot of chronic lifestyle diseases. You hit on all of them, hypertension, diabetes, all related to our food as well as physical activity. We also know stress and poor sleep also are contributors, as well as the relationship and the environment that you live within. And once you, I think one of the aha moments for patients or clients is when they understand that they can do something about it, right? It is hard, it is difficult. You're right. Some people say, do I have to go all in? No, you can take some baby steps, you can moderate. But once you make those steps, the key is that the progress is so fast, right? Compared to
Right.
medication. And then once you walk alongside them and they have the support group in their community, that spirals. And it was so
Hmm.
exciting. I know we probably can share what's happening in both of our communities that you just see the spark. You see people's interest, their purpose for life, their hope, all of that comes restored. And so I find that to be very, very encouraging as people try to heal themselves and feel empowered to do so.
Right. Yeah, for sure. And and the reason why we've been, brought up this topic of just going more plant forward and why we just, you and I both, neither of us have said that people have to go all in vegan because we know that even just by adding more plants on your plate, there are so many health benefits. I know, folks that I've worked with who may not be ready to take that full step, of going
Mhm.
completely plant-based, but even just starting, a lot of people will usually start with maybe taking some dairy out, especially, I see a lot of women in my practice, and a lot of times women may be dealing with hormonal issues or maybe dealing with a lot of fatigue and stress, or even certain skin conditions. And so a lot of times the first thing we'll do is just take that dairy out,
Mhm.
and find, just some plant forward replacements for that. And it's been countless times where people will come back and say, you know what, I'm starting to feel better already. And, it wasn't that we resurface their entire diet, their entire plate, but just even just that one thing. How about yourself?
Yeah, I find I work with people where they are, some people are gun ho. I think my husband and I, when we first introduced it, we went gun ho. But we had setbacks. And that's the other thing that also happens, right? Some people can dive all in and I'm getting up everything, we hear stories about, throwing out everything out the pantry, out the refrigerator. And then you're like, ooh, I don't know what I'm going to make today. I don't
Right.
know. Let me go. Oh, that's
All I got is this
chicken.
box of lettuce and I don't know what to do with it.
Around right? And then
Yeah.
go back. So let yourself off the hook. But I definitely agree with you, Dr. Shayla, that I think it is important to meet people where they are. If it's cutting out dairy, some people can, do a 1 day a week, like
Mhm.
meatless Monday or meatless Tuesday or other aspects with respect to introducing more plant-based foods. And I think the key is actually introducing healthy plant-based foods. I think it's really
Yeah.
important to distinguish between just plant-based foods, but not all plant-based
Mhm.
foods are equal and are healthy for
Right. Right. Oh, yeah. I'm glad you brought that one out because, yeah, a lot of times, people, if they aren't being guided, I'm on
you.
social
Mhm.
media a lot. And so I tend to see people and they'll post, like, well, I'm eating vegan now. And it's like, burgers or it's, everything processed, which is defeating the whole purpose of getting more plants on our plates. And so really, yeah, I often tell people, even if they don't start with any other plants, start with some dark leafy greens. Dark leafy
Mhm.
greens are going to have so many benefits. We started out talking about like the heart disease and the high blood pressure and elevated blood sugars. Well, dark leafy greens can benefit all of those conditions. They're natural anti-inflammatories, so they naturally help to reduce some of that inflammation. They help to reduce some of that bloating. They help to keep people fuller longer because of the fiber in those dark leafy greens. So even if people just start there, thinking in terms of putting more plants on their plate, they can go a long way with their health. And yeah, like you mentioned, not doing so much of those processed foods, but thinking more simply. I think a lot of times we
Mhm.
do too. We tend to kind of overcomplicate it and think, we may need a ton of recipes, or we may need to, go to whatever store and buy up all of these things that just have the plant-based label slapped on it. But if just get regular whole foods, just unprocessed things, and you really don't even have to worry about labels and even high costs. That can even be another factor into that too.
Yeah, I think you bring up a very good point. I think education is also key, right? So even how to classify food. I don't know if I grew up and saying, oh yeah, I'm going to have some leafy greens. I just know eat my vegetables. But one of the things that I've learned a lot, and I'm sure you have, is, what are the food classifications when we talk about plant forward? You talked about leafy greens, we talk about whole grains, right? Then we also want to talk about legumes. And I was like, what's legumes? And then, they pronounce it, right? Which is your beans and your peas, your whole grains. If we need to talk about gluten-free components such as quinoa and brown rice, and the oats. And I think the key about when you go plant forward is you can mix a lot of these foods together. So we definitely don't want to forget nuts and seeds, which we definitely want. I measure those because I just can't grab a whole handful and throw it in because they're high
Yeah.
calorie, foods. And then
Mhm.
the other key that I really had to learn how to do is use my herbs and spices to really bring out the flavorful, because no one likes bland food. And that's the other thing that gets a bad rap, right, about vegan food. Oh, it's going to be
Yeah.
tasteless, it's going to be boring, it's going to be bland. Nothing far from the truth. That is, what really what we experience is uh, an appreciation for many types of flavors and how you bring foods all together and it tastes wonderful. And at the same time, you are nourishing your body. You are helping it, as you mentioned, to prevent diseases and on the path to heal diseases if you have some.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And that's so true, that people do. They think, well, oh, I'm only going to eat the iceberg lettuce. That's all I'm going to have to eat, if I go plant-based, and it's going to be boring and I'm going to be starving and all of these things. But that also just kind of goes back into guidance and, the importance of people really connecting with someone who can guide them
Mhm.
healthfully, in that direction too. Because you're right. Nobody wants to eat bland food. And, that's a key reason why a lot of people probably tend to, avoid eating more plants, because they think about the boiled broccoli they probably had to eat when they were 5, that didn't taste so great. Um, you know? But there's so many ways that you can flavor your food. You can even make sauces just from other
Mhm.
plants, really
Yeah.
flavorful sauces to spice up your dishes, or you can use fresh herbs and spices that way. I love garlic on like pretty much everything. So for me, garlic is gonna have to go on it, whatever it is. So, but these things can be incorporated, and the other kicker to it is a lot of these herbs and spices too also have additional health benefits. They work as antioxidants, and
Mm.
some are minerals, and so they actually do have even more health benefits while you're also flavoring your food.
That is great. Yes. And one of the things that I have found to be really helpful to kind of simplify, like how do you start, right? We talked about some of the health benefits. So now, how do you start? How do you incorporate this? I like the bowl-based eating. And what that
Mm,
means is you mix lots of different foods, plant-based foods from the different food categories that we talked about, and you get a very nutritious, how nutrient dense meal that is low in calories. So let me give you an example. Smoothies. Let's start off with something that's smoothies is really a bowl in a cup that's liquefied,
yeah.
right? It is great. So you can definitely get something from your leafy greens. You can grab kale, you can grab some spinach, right? You can go with your fruit, right? That was the other category I failed to mention. So I love my berries, and you can buy the frozen triple berries. So for me, as a working mom, and a wife with a dog, right? So I need things to be convenient and already package for me. So I do buy the frozen kale and the frozen spinach, and I do buy the frozen triple berries, which is your raspberries, strawberries, and blueberries, and I mix it together. I do try to avoid the juice, adding juice, and I because of the natural flavors of those things. And if I want to increase my protein content, you can add tofu. You can also add chia seeds or any type of nut butter, and you can just come out with many different flavor combinations, and then you can lay it out, and your family can actually have similar ingredients but different amounts, so that their smoothie may have a little bit more concentrated of the berries, mine may have a little bit more of the greens, but we're all putting it all together, and we really enjoy that. So I find that starting off with bowl-based eating, smoothies is one thing. Now, if you're going to have, you can also do something salads. Now let's talk about salads. Salads don't have to be boring. So
Right.
I love to add mixed greens. You can add your spinach, you can have kale. And let me tell you, how you chop your kale and your spinach can make a big difference. Sometimes I finely chop my kale so it's like a little sprinkle. People think it's cilantro, but it's not. It's kale. You got like kale. Or people at church, this is really where I really am impacting the community is through my church. And so you give them little tips and things of that sort. So you just take a
Yeah.
handful of it because a handful is considered to be a serving. You chop it up finely or to whatever size that you like that
Mhm.
is appealing to you. And then you add that, and then again you mix it with. I, I can mix it with some quinoa, so I can have cooked some quinoa ahead of time, some batch quinoa. I can add that as well. I like to add corn. I can add some beans. So the beans that I like, my favorite beans are black beans. As you guys probably know, that the darker the bean, it's greater anti-inflammatory content. But all the beans are great, right? They're
Mhm.
help fighting inflammation. They have antioxidants. They have other health benefits to our whole
High
body.
in fiber, definitely for those insulin resistant folks out there. You definitely want some beans to help regulate blood sugar and metabolism for sure.
It helps you feel full, right?
Hmm.
So that you don't feel like I need to overeat as well. And so now we have leafy greens, right? Now we have whole grain. Now we just added some legumes. The other thing that you can add as well is I do, like I say, if you want a fruit, I do add a little bit of raisin. I try to avoid cranberries just because they seem to have a little bit more sugary content than the raisins do. But I do measure them about a fourth of a cup. I do have my measuring cups. I'm a little nerdy like that at times because I really do want to be mindful away with it, right? I can
Hmm.
overdo it. But that's what I mean when I get away with it. I can overdo it, and now can be consuming more sugar or more fat than I really intended to. And the other thing I
Right.
do like is I like to add walnuts as well. So again, that can be a very colorful salad. I can have
Hmm.
balsamic vinegar on it. I can add nutritional yeast. I remember speaking about that. Somebody's
Yeah.
like, oh, it's great. It's fortified with vitamin B12. So it really
Mhm.
helps us. And that may be something that we're going to talk about too, is that, especially when you transition more so to eating more plant-based foods and eating less animal foods, you do have to be aware of your vitamin B12 level.
Right. Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I had tried finally chopping kale. So that's a new one even for me. I usually massage it because kale
Mm,
will be tough. So for people if you've
mhm,
never, prepared kale and you're gonna eat it raw, you do want to either like, Dr. Shanda said you want to finally chop it, or another method is to massage it.
mhm.
And massaging it is just what you think. Massaging it. The first time I heard somebody say massage, I'm like, why are you massaging the food? But it is.
Giving it some
And that helps.
love.
Right, you do. You give it some love, and you can put a little squirt of lemon juice on it or lime juice to help
Mhm.
just break down because
Yeah.
kale is very fibrous, and so just to break it
Mhm,
down a little bit to make it more easier to chew and
mhm.
easier to eat that way. But yeah, but a salad. when you're eating plant-based, you don't have to hold back and feel like you got to have one of those little restaurant side salads. You can actually have a meal, you know, it doesn't have to be restrictive in terms of that because you're getting good nutrients from it. Um, you know, when it comes to tofu, I find that a lot of people either haven't eaten tofu or they're afraid to eat it. I met a lady, I did a cooking demonstration once and we talked about tofu and she said, you know, I'm glad you showed me how to cook it. She said, I've had tofu in my refrigerator. She said, I bought a box and it's been sitting there for about 2 months and I was just scared to cook it and open it. Because she thought it was just, you know, going to be nasty and taste like nothing, which tofu will taste like absolutely nothing if you don't, you know what to do with it.
Yes.
But that's also one of the beauties of tofu is that you can do so many things with it because it's flavorless essentially until you spice it up or you do whatever with it, but you can put it in a smoothie just for that extra protein like you mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
um, and it won't change the flavor of your smoothie because it's not going to taste like anything. You can marinate it. You can, create your own marinate it to bring on more flavor. Then you can grill it, bake it, air fry it, saute
Mm-hmm.
it, whatever. There's so many things that you can do with tofu, but it's a great source of protein in a plant-based diet without having such high fat or high cholesterol that you would get from animal products.
That is true. My favorite way to make it, I don't make it this way often, is to air fry it. And I use a brown rice flour as well. And I use like a kind of spicy
Mm-hmm.
seasoning with some cumin. And I put it in, I can just eat it by itself. And it's funny because before I switched over to become plant-based, I would have frowned my nose up. They look at us like, oh, for real. Now I love it, even when it's on marinade. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, I
Yeah.
love that. So look at
Yeah,
this.
yeah, yeah. And so,
Can I show you this? Can I brag on my son? He just brought me back this salad for me to eat. It has some black beans with carrots and it has all my Greek we
nice.
talked about
All
that.
those
He didn't
things.
even know. He didn't even know. So thank
Right
you.
on time. Yeah, yeah. And so, you talked about starting with bowls or with salads for starting out plant-based. Another thing I like to challenge people with when they're starting out plant-based is just asking them what things do they typically like to eat, and then we talk about creating something similar that way. So sometimes people may say, oh well, I like tacos, or to and then we talk about, well, you can make your meat out of walnuts, or you can make it out of lentils, and still put your taco seasonings on it so that you're still
Mhm,
getting that flavor. And then you can,
mhm,
put in some fresh cilantro and tomatoes and onions and really
mhm,
spice up that taco, some beans, and still be able to have that food that you like. Or if you like pasta dishes are really easy to make plant forward. I like to use bean based pastas myself just for additional
mm,
fiber and protein. But then, you can have your own marinara sauce. You can make if you like Alfredo, you can make a cashew based Alfredo or a tofu based. I've made it both ways actually, to make a more of an Alfredo cream kind of based sauce, but it's still plant forward, it's still high in nutrients. Um, so there are ways to still have those things that you enjoy, but to have them more healthfully, so that you can improve those health conditions.
that's true. If you talk to me, everything is a bowl. A sandwich is a bowl. I just say it's the mixed ingredients in between things. A pizza is a bowl, so that you
Uh-huh.
can make something easier. Definitely, I love tacos as well. And I think that that is a really, so when you think about it, and it's actually a 3 steps to think about, what is your base, that you're going to use. You can either alternate the base is like what's your main ingredient, right? One or two
Yeah.
servings of your main ingredient, which could be the leafy greens or some type of whole grain, rice or quinoa we were talking about earlier. I do also say, okay, so if that's my main base, and I also adding my legumes as well and other vegetables, right? Because not only the greens, it's not the only vegetable, right? We can add other vegetables. I love my onions. We talked about garlic earlier. I mean, although that can be a herb, but it also is a vegetable. And I love corn. I love the combination of corn and beans as well as quinoa. And these are the flavor profiles that I did not realize I was going to enjoy, and the textures as well. And the mouthfeel is so good and so key that really grabs you and keeps you. And it's not as I'm gonna go there. It's not as boring as when I used to eat animal place-based food. I used to just have the meat, a starch, and a vegetable. Sometimes I
Yeah.
mix it up, but not too much. But now I really mix it up and put things together. So yeah, and like you mentioned earlier about different type of sauces, you can just make different things to even enhance the flavor and the nutritional profile even more so. So this is really, really exciting that I
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Well, so if you are just tuning in, I am Dr. Shayla on with Dr. Shanda, and we are talking about getting started going plant forward. If you are happening to watch the replay of this video, we do invite you to put questions in the comments. We're happy to follow up at another time and answer questions in the comments. Dr. Shanda, tell the audience how can they connect with you?
Yeah, so you can connect with me through email currently right now, which is admin, at plantbasedactivewell.com. I failed to mention when I was in my introduction, I do have a business and it is called Plant Based Active and Well, that is based out of Hampton Roads, Virginia. Um, I serve Newport News, Virginia, Hampton, Virginia, and Yorktown, Virginia, which is my place of residence. And yeah, I'm really excited about, the business aspect, which is to get people like eating more plant-based foods as well as being active and with the overall benefit of improving your wealth, improving your health for wealth. So people have definitely, as you probably can attest, lost weight, improved their energy, have even a better outlook on life overall.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. And again, I'm Dr. Shayla. I'm with Essence of Health Wellness Clinic and Coaching. I can be found at drshayla.com/EOH. I do offer a free program just to get you started. It's perfect for those who are new to plant-based or those who are even just wanting to figure out how they can incorporate more plants into their diet. It's called the Nourish and Flourish 5-Day Challenge. That's at drshayla.com/NF Challenge. I'll put these in the comments of the video. So feel free to reach out. Feel free to start that free program and get started. Well, thank you for joining us this evening.